A local immigration attorney is engaged in a legal battle with the federal government because his NEXUS card was revoked. But that's not all.
Matthew Borowski says in his lawsuit, his constitutional rights have been violated multiple times at the border. But the government sees it a different way. News 4 Investigates looks at the case. Luke Moretti reports.
I need to get across. I have court hearings. I have client meetings.
Attorney Matthew Borowski is a U.S. citizen who lives in the Niagara region of Canada and commutes to Buffalo every day.
I've sort of built my life around the ability to cross the border easily.
He handles clients on both sides of the border. And for years, he's relied on his NEXUS card to fast-track through customs. But late last year, Borowski received an email notification from the government's Trusted Traveler program, run by U.S. Customs and Border Protection. It's something he wasn't expecting.
Lo and behold, I was shocked. I saw revoked. NEXUS card revoked and renewal denied.
He wondered why and was determined to find out. So he drove to the NEXUS Enrollment Center in Niagara Falls. But he says officers refused to allow him in and would not provide any information. And then he says they refused to take a written Freedom of Information Act request for documents used to make decisions about approving and revoking NEXUS cards.
Not only would they refuse to take the FOIA request, but they laughed in my face and told me that I should be disbarred as an attorney for trying to make a FOIA request in a way that's clearly not how it's done.
Borowski, who specializes in immigration law, says that he found himself on the radar of Customs and Border Protection about a decade ago, when his wife filed a civil rights lawsuit accusing a border agent of using excessive force.
My children were traumatized seeing their mother detained by CBP. She was handcuffed.
The lawsuit would later be dismissed. But in the years that followed, Borowski says there were more run-ins at the border with Customs and Border Protection officers. He recalls one incident at the Peace Bridge in February 2019 in which he was detained and searched.
I kept on asking, what is going on? Why am I being detained? And they wouldn't tell me. And they came back with my passport and my keys and said, "You're free to go."
Borowski tells News 4 Investigates that he believes his advocacy and occasional criticism of government immigration policies have kept him in the agency's crosshairs. Now, he's suing Customs and Border Protection over the revocation of his NEXUS card and alleged violations of false imprisonment and free speech. The lawsuit is also seeking the disclosure and release of agency records that Borowski alleges are being improperly withheld, while claiming documents he did receive were wrongfully redacted.
CBP is in the dark ages when it comes to law enforcement.
Borowski admits that he'll challenge customs officers on policy and procedures when things escalate.
What it seems like it boils down to here is they don't like the fact that I ask questions. They don't like the fact that I don't just comply without asking why. They want people to just do what they're told. They don't want anyone to ask about their policies.
According to an internal risk assessment that Borowski obtained from Customs and Border Protection through Freedom of Information law, the agency has a different take. Those documents state that he's been argumentative and consistently fails to comply with officers' direction, and that on one occasion, Borowski was pulled over for a secondary inspection, blocking both lanes of traffic. The risk assessment worksheet states that he became even more argumentative and irate about the inspection, and that he refused to get off his cell phone after being asked 3 times.
There's numerous notes where, without any sort of narrative explaining or establishing why they think I was being hostile or uncooperative, they just make the statement that subject was hostile, subject was uncooperative. I was asserting my rights, but I did it in a respectful way.
According to the government's response to Borowski's lawsuit, CBP is immune from suit relating to discretionary decisions regarding NEXUS membership, arguing that he did not suffer a legal wrong. What's more, government lawyers claim that CBP maintains the sole discretion to evaluate applicants and determine eligibility for the NEXUS program, and that under the Administrative Procedure Act, the court lacks subject matter jurisdiction to review the denial of Borowski's NEXUS membership application.
As Customs always says, NEXUS is a privilege, it's not a right.
New York City-based attorney Robert Leo, who has no connection to Matthew Borowski's case, represents clients with NEXUS card issues. He says the majority of them originate from enforcement on the U.S. side.
The problem with the NEXUS program in the United States, which is different than the CBSA Canadian program, is that there are no regulations covering NEXUS. So it's just what they want to do when they want to do it. Not that they're really after people.
Leo tells News 4 investigates that U.S. Customs and Border Protection has wide discretion over the NEXUS program, which can be difficult and time-consuming for the average person who decides to appeal a revocation on their own.
We haven't seen many cases of abuse at all, actually. The issue is that it's just an automatic knee-jerk. We're not going to spend the time trying to figure it out. If they want to appeal, they can appeal. They're not abusing anything. They think it's a violation. And if they had thought a little bit more, it shouldn't have been a violation.
Despite having his NEXUS card revoked, Borowski is still able to cross the border, just not the dedicated fast-track lane that he's used to traveling. He points out that his work as a lawyer includes handling immigration cases at the Federal Detention Center in Batavia.
I'm one of few lawyers that is willing to go do that work. And I feel like they may be trying to stop me from doing that. They may be trying to make it hard for me to represent these people, oftentimes arrested by CBP.
Borowski's NEXUS issue was reviewed by an agency ombudsman who determined that the revocation is warranted based on noncompliance with the inspection process on numerous occasions. Meanwhile, an agency spokesperson declined comment because of the pending litigation. Luke Moretti, News 4.